How close to 100% are you in terms of your fitness?
We'll have to wait and see after this game. I feel good. The other day I went and had a jab and a cortisone, so I've been running freely. I'm pretty much at 100% running in straight lines. Now it's just about obviously the side-to-side lateral movement. So for me, it's about going out there and running hard between wickets first and foremost, and just getting back into playing cricket.
So how much of a risk is it to be playing?
Oh look, I'm not going to do further damage. It's just going to be a niggle, as I said, for a while. I'm going to have to just put up with that little bit of pain, and it is what it is. I can't do much about it.
Talking about injections, just tell us about the rehab process that you've gone through over the last few months.
Yeah, look, it's been quite challenging. Certain different sort of elements to it. With like your side lateral stuff with bands, it's a bit tedious. In my sense, very boring, but it's much needed. But look, I've obviously got the best physios in the country looking after myself, and for me to get back on the park was a lot of strength work, back in the gym again, doing a lot of speed work as well, which I wasn't able to get in before those first two tests because I just couldn't do it. Simple as that. But I made the call to play those test matches. I felt like I needed to be out there and help the guys. So in June, if I'm looking back in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done that to where I am with the injury. It put me back a little bit, but at the end of the day, we had this time to heal, and obviously with South Africa being called off, it gave me a bit more time to actually get that strength work in to get me to where I am. That's
interesting. So in hindsight, you almost regret coming back based on how the injury put up at the end of that test series?
From an injury perspective, yes. If I'm thinking about myself and the injury, I probably would have said no now. But I did what I felt was best for the team, and me being out there opening the batting was I felt what was the best thing for the team.
Do you think that hindsight's helped you make this decision? You feel more comfortable backing yourself into play now?
Yeah, definitely. It's very rare that you get sort of 6 to 8 weeks to rebuild. Obviously there's state cricket on now, which we're grateful we're able to come and play. Obviously with no cricket on for us. And obviously the two teams being picked beforehand with South Africa and New Zealand, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, for myself to have that time off to sort of do the rehab and get back to full fitness, for me was priority.
Can you run us through the reaction when you knew that you'd done something to the brain? I mean, what was the sort of mentality that you were feeling, straight after?
Yeah, look, it was quite funny when Pat Cummins came over to me and asked me how I'm feeling. It was like literally got kicked in the nuts. It was horrible. It was really horrible. I'd never felt anything like it. And then I think Glenn Maxwell and the physio tried to pick me up, and that is the most vulnerable position, like to lift my leg, because it was a lower ab tear with 2 other tears in my groin. So, having never done it before, it was quite comical when I was back in the physio room on the bench. But look, looking back, it was quite painful. But I'm glad I am where I am now.
And obviously with the South Africa tour being cancelled, there's a lot of time that you guys not been playing cricket. I mean, do you take that as a positive to sort of make sure that you're 100% right, or do you feel like if you go out there and do what you want?
No. For us, about going out and playing now, it's more about, we've got a lot of cricket coming up, and this year we've got a World Cup coming up. We've got a Test Championship that potentially we could be going to. You've got a West Indies tour that's potential there, and a Bangladesh tour before the World Cup. So there's a lot of cricket leading up into this summer with the Ashes as well. So for us, it's about managing our bodies throughout that whole year as well. It's very rare that we get to come back and play this amount of state cricket with an Australian team over in another country playing as well. So for us, we're just grateful to come out and play cricket again.
It's been quite a mentally challenging period. Like, you haven't had too many serious injuries in your career, just sort of having to adjust, missing so much cricket.
Yeah, look, it's been difficult in terms of running around with the kids as well. Not being able to do a fair few activities with them, whether or not it's picking them up, throwing them in the pool, little things that you do as a dad. Those were quite tough for myself with the injury, but spending time at home has been quality for me. I'm obviously a very family-orientated person. I love spending time at home, and this has been a rare opportunity for myself to have that time and sort of reflect as well on the last sort of 12 to 18 months with cricket in general, with my own form and where I want to head. So it's been great. I've enjoyed it, and I'm obviously going to miss the family a lot more now that I go on tour with obviously 3 kids and my wife back at home. So, I know how tough it is to be at home, and I applaud my wife and all wives out there or mothers out there that do the job of being a parent at home. It's very difficult.
You've talked in the past about whether it's going to be viable to continue with all 3 formats as like a combination of the injury and, as you say, spending a lot of time with your family. Is that giving you sort of more thought on that, and are you close to kind of knowing what the plan is and where you might?
Yeah, look, at the moment, if I'm thinking that, it'll probably go downhill quite fast. I'm not thinking of that end date at all. For me, it's about the 2023 World Cup is where I would like to get to. We've got a good foundation there with the white ball team that we've got a good opportunity to play that and win in India. And I think the core team that's there with the age group as well, it's probably going to be the last for a few of us. And then obviously it's a given that you just have to call it time unless you're going to play to your 40, 41. It's time for the new guys to come through in that white ball setup. But from a Test cricket point of view, I'd love to play as long as I can. We've got a lot of cricket coming up in that context after this year. So for me, it's about just staying fit and healthy and trying to, manage my family time with cricket as well.
A lot of chatter around at the moment about Steve Smith potentially making his return back to captain. What was your thoughts on that? And I guess would you be comfortable with that decision?
Look, at the end of the day, it's up to the board. Obviously, Pat's doing a great job here with New South Wales, been given the opportunity to captain here, and obviously he's vice captain of Australia. So at the end of the day, if that's the way that they go with Pat, then it's going to be a great appointment in any respect, because he's there. He's been learning the role. He's got a very good cricket brain. I did see Steve's comments about him being a fast bowler. I do understand where Steve's coming from. It can be quite challenging, if you're out there and it's a Test match and you've bowled X amount of overs and you're out there all day. It could be quite challenging. Steve would be able to say how he feels because he's been there and he's done it as a batter captain. So that's not my place to talk about who will be captain or who, if I feel like who would be the best person for that job. For me, it's about respecting whoever's decision it is to appoint that captain.
Any messages of support for England in that Test?
Against India? No, I won't be barracking for England. From a cricket perspective, we would like to obviously see a draw. But yeah, it's actually it's been quite funny seeing obviously the comments from Ashwin and Gazza and on the pitch and stuff. It was actually quite entertaining. I know as a batter it's very difficult. At the end of the day, you've got to try and work your backside off to try and score runs. And why can't the spin bowlers have a bit of fun?
What did you make of the decks over there? They're pretty outrageous.
I'd say it's hard to get a gauge unless you're there, to be honest. We had something quite similar in Sri Lanka 4 or 5 years ago. It can be challenging and frustrating as a batsman. You're not getting the fluency, you're not getting your timing right. One ball will skid as an opening batter with a new ball. One will skid on, one will turn square. But that's just what you have to deal with when you're in the subcontinent. You got to really work your backside off and trying to find rhythm, find a way to score. Joe Root scored some good hundreds in Sri Lanka. He obviously played well. Playing well in India, but at the end of the day, you got to back yourself. And as I said, the spin bowlers are getting their opportunity. In Australia, 2.5 days as well with a ball that's seaming around. I do get people talking about why the difference between seam and spin. I don't see a difference in those wickets, but at the end of the day, you got to do your best as a batsman to score runs.
Can I just confirm that? Surely behind the scenes, if England won't win, just a sneaky fist pump, but never a public comment that you hope England win a Test match.
It'll be ideal for us to make the World Test Championship final, and if that happens, it's a great result for us.
Can I just ask you, there was a story in the paper today about the ICC potentially capping numbers in terms of what countries will take to the World Cup, the T20 World Cup. rather than a 15-player squad, it's like a 30-man squad, whether it be X amount of players and start, but it all fits under a 30-man cap. And I think it was just to sort of combat COVID and injury, so you could potentially take two full teams to cover a like-for-like position. What are your thoughts on that? And does it sort of have any thought on that? Have you across it?
I'm guessing that's part of the PMOA regulation. So I guess if the ICC put that rule in place, you just got to stick by it, I reckon.
It could be a good opportunity for Australia to take like a like-for-like and almost take two squads, and those who aren't playing can prepare as a group, albeit on the subcontinent for the Ashes.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a difficult one. I know, obviously, given the situation in the world today, it's going to be very difficult to replace injured players as well. So, yeah, look, I'm not sure what has been said. Obviously, you just explained a little bit to me, but I think if they feel like that's a viable option, then I think you're just going to have to stick by those guidelines. I know how difficult it was when they were picking teams to go over to, say, England, for example. I think we had 21 players over there to try and, in case someone, you got concussion now as well, concussion rule. Yeah, look, from my perspective, I'm not too sure. They obviously want to cut numbers down as well. You've got to think of the logistics as well around it. Hotels, biosecurity bubbles, the costs for that are enormous. So, one player is a lot of money in terms of flights and then having those rooms and other things that go with it. So, look, there's obviously a big cost factor behind it, which, at the end of the day, everyone's been bleeding economically around the world. So, if that's how it goes, and we're happy for that. That's no issue.
Just quickly as well about commentary. Had a bit of time in the commentary box recently. How'd you find it?
It's quite easy to be critical, isn't it? I had the privilege of sitting next to Isha and Mark Waugh. I've obviously known Mark for a long time. I was a selector previously, and obviously listened to him a lot on the commentary. So I've actually really enjoyed it. I think we actually work quite well together. And yeah, look, it could be something down the track, but as I said, it's quite easy to be critical when you're sitting up there and you're watching. But yeah, from afar, it's good, it's exciting, but you could never take over the greats of the game who've caught it before, with Richie and Tony, and obviously Tubby as well to a degree, and Bill Laurie. Like they just got the voice for it. I don't think too many people want to hear me for a long time, so I might have to change my voice and go to some music lessons, I reckon, to change it.
On that short break between the T20 World Cup and the Ashes, is it something that you've spoken to JL about, and like for yourself, do you think you can handle, if there's not a heap of red ball prep, you might come back, quarantine, and maybe even play that Afghanistan test in quarantine and then straight into an Ashes? Yeah,
look, for myself personally, it doesn't bother me. I can just, I can go away for 10 weeks and pick up a bat. That doesn't bother me. For me, it's about making sure that I'm mentally right for the game. I'm in a great mind frame to go out there and tackle the next opponents. It is quite difficult when we're spending that 14 days in quarantine and training. You're basically getting, in that 3 hours you're allowed out, which we're extremely grateful for. You got to fit your speed, your skills, and everything into that one day, where basically our training sessions in the morning, from 9 till say 12, come back and you do your weights at like 4 in the afternoon. It is very different. That's probably why you're seeing a lot of soft tissue injuries around the world, not just in our sport, but a lot of sports. So, look, there's going to be obviously questions raised about how we go about that, but England are going to be in the same circumstances as us as well. So, look, there's a lot of things that are probably go on around with the medical staff and with JL and the selectors about who they pick. Do we pick the full strength team leading into the Ashes? It'll be great, because obviously you want the team to stick together as much as you can. You don't want too many changes. But look, it's going to be difficult. From as I said, from my perspective, it's Test match cricket's a bit slowly paced, but the quicks are the most important guys in our team. They've got to back up day after day, and they've got to be ready to go. And I'm sure they'll get their workloads in that quarantine period. But who knows? By then, we might not have such a strict quarantine thing in place. So fingers crossed.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, David. Well, mate.
Too easy.
Thank you. Cheers.
Time to go. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers, mate.